Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. We are your hosts. My name is Saad.
And I'm Darius.
In our last podcast, we were talking about our business wrap up and how, not many people realize that's also something that they should consider and figure out what has happened throughout the year in their business.
Yeah. It's always good to look back.
Exactly.
Do a look back, find out what worked, be honest, what didn't work, and what did you learn? That's a pretty standard debrief that we go through, but most people just kind of roll in with very little thought moving forward. So that exercise is extremely helpful to go in and also give yourself credit for all the good things that did actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually one of the key things that we do when we work with clients is we actually go through that because we want to find out all those things that did work, because too often we overlook those wins.
Yeah.
We overlook all the things that did work and we focus solely on the negative. And what you focus on expands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always looking at negative, that's all you'll ever see.
Taking a moment to celebrate those wins helps you understand that what you're working towards is working, right?
Yeah.
And to build off that conversation, it's that time of the year where people have these New Year's resolutions, whether it's a gym, whether it's your business, whether it is, people come in with this preconceived notion that, oh, you know what, I got this idea that I want to do and apply it into my business or into my personal life, but they have nothing backing it. They just feel like they're going to go in and crush it. And to build off of our conversation previously and on another podcast episode where we're talking about how a lot of businesses start and have no vision or purpose or understanding what the bigger goal is. They'll end up spending time on the minute details and spending hours on them. So, I recently heard this conversation of a business owner that spent 2 weeks redoing his logo, thinking how that's going to be eye-catching to business or customers.
Right. And not even at the stage where that branding is actually important, because in the beginning stages of business, until you are solidly into the millions and millions, your brand, that logo stuff doesn't actually really matter.
Doesn't even scratch the surface.
But if you look at how much time business owners spend agonizing over, oh, I have to get this logo just perfect. I need to have the brand package, and these companies sell them on, oh no, we need to make sure you have your typeset, and we need to make sure we have your font and your colors. Oh, that's really important. I'm like, yes. Does that become important down the road? Yes.
Yeah.
But is it the most important stuff that's going to make you money?
Yeah.
No.
The funny thing is there's a few conversations I've had with a couple people in the last 2-3 weeks where they're like, I need to redo my merch. How much revenue are you bringing in from that merch? Well, it's not really selling right now, but once I update it and get the new, it's gonna, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, is that do we see it all the time? Yes. I mean, am I guilty of that in the early stages? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because those are that's the trap, because it's something that we feel we can control. Mm-hmm. It's something that we feel is important, and we want it to we want to make this great impression. And a lot of times it's a really good distraction that we can justify because we use it as a way to not have to actually face the hard work that we're scared of doing, which is the actual selling and putting our stuff really, truly out there. And I say that because I know from experience that that's what it is. I went through that because it was a really good way just to avoid having to do the hard work of have to do the sales. You have to sell. But if I am convincing myself that, oh, it's not going to sell as well because I need to get the coloring and all these things just right.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
But it's really good because we can convince ourselves that it is important.
Yeah. And my business is doing nothing, but my logo looks so great.
So great. Yeah. Greatest packaging that no one will ever see because you refuse to do the hard work of going out to sell and do the hard work of growing your business.
Yeah. It's something you said that kind of, I love the saying because I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was along the lines like when you show value to a customer, the money follows like, and your success follows like something along the lines. I'm just again absolutely paraphrasing, but the conversation was around like, when you have something that you're doing that changes the world or changes your environment and adds some type of value, people are just gonna come to it. Doesn't matter what the logo looks like. Doesn't matter, what kind of clothing you're wearing.
Look at Hormozy, right? Alex Hormozy, he walks around, big beard in a white tank top and shorts and Crocs, sandals half the time. Yeah, half the time, and a ball cap, and they're doing over hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
Sold out arena or sold out shows, like
exactly, and and his logo is nothing amazing, acquisition.com, but people get caught up in the trap of thinking that kind of stuff is really important, and it's the wrong stuff at the wrong time. Like there's a time where you need to think about branding and stuff like that. Early on, it's not. And there's more valuable ways to spend your time, and that's the hard work. So that's the work that most business owners don't do because it's easy to get caught up in the busyness of business and the things that hit our dopamine centers, and we like to medicate ourselves with because it tricks us, and we lie to ourselves in believing that it is important. We tell ourselves the story that it is important because we're unwilling to deal with the fact that it's not valuable. And we trick and convince ourselves that it is valuable so that we can then turn around, justify spending that time on it, and then feel good about it when we're done.
Yeah.
When what you need to do is the hard work, the hard work of figuring out what's actually going to move the needle, what's actually going to provide value. How are you going to create leverage so you can do more with less better?
Yeah. I want to kind of relate what we are planning to do in 2025, just to kind of provide an example. And like one of the things that we mentioned was one of the big things for our business is failing faster.
Yes.
Getting there faster. So, sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like, how would we do that, or how would we implement that in like sort of a business plan throughout the year? I know like the obvious is, just when something comes up, let's try it quickly, see if it works. If it doesn't, throw it out, get it off the.
Well, I think it goes back to I don't know how many times we'll probably get people will get sick of hearing this. It really goes back to identifying your mission, your purpose, your values, all of those really important things, and reverse engineering that back and understanding what it is on a daily basis that you need to do, and develop those habits. So it's going to be, for us, it's X number of conversations every day that start an opening conversation to move people towards, getting to the sale.
Yeah.
Because that's all it is. It's really like, that's one of the key behaviors. And those are the things that, if you're looking at growing your business, okay, what are the things what is your daily behavior that needs to be that habit, that consistent habit that will give you no other option but to be successful.
Right.
And it's probably that's probably one of them for most business owners. And then, because when you start doing that, you develop that behavior and that pattern, you make it a non-negotiable that you do this every day, it filters out a lot of other things. So you won't have time to focus on the busyness of the things. And if you're doing that, you're generating more and more revenue.
Right.
And with that revenue, then what I would say is then you kind of, if you've reverse engineered, you have also identified where you're going to find the key places of leverage. So how do you systemize and build on those things? How do you, once you get a certain point, your first key hire is probably going to be an admin first and foremost, to take care of all of the low value things that prevent you from doing more of that generating revenue activity. That's going to be your first one. And how to do that, you can leverage you leverage that person's time and energy to go in and do that for you. So they take away all that low leverage activity from you to free you up to do more and more important tasks. So that's how you buy back that time and create leverage. That's going to be one of your big hires. And so if you are a business owner and you have a team, but you don't have an admin, you probably need an admin right away. You just don't realize it.
Yeah.
And you're scared, or you've never realized how to do that. And that comes with a whole set of things that we can talk. We can probably dive that into another whole podcast. Yeah. But this should get you thinking that if you have a team and you don't have an admin, you probably need an admin to allow you to go sell more and grow your business continually.
Yeah. And most people don't really, like I used to be, the reason why I say most people is because I used to also feel this way, didn't understand how to properly utilize an admin. Mm-hmm. And most people are like, oh, I could do this stuff myself. Yeah. Absolutely can, but it's diverting you from where you're supposed to be putting your effort in.
Yeah. Right? It allows you, like not getting one allows you to justify in your head that your time is not as valuable. Mm-hmm. And that's all that it is. It's the idea you have to create leverage to buy back more of your time. And that's why specifically like that first hire probably needs to be an admin to buy back your time. And being able to calculate what that rate is so you can understand what the trade-off is. And there's a million different ways you can do that. I'm not saying, oh, you need to go get an admin that comes into your office every day. There's, depending on your business, you could have a remote one.
Yeah.
Right. There's lots of different ways to do that, but it's whatever that works for you best. But understanding that once you know that that's probably the next step, you can ask the better question of, okay, for my business, what would be the ideal setup for that? Right. Do I need someone here on premise? Can I work with a remote admin? Mm-hmm. And there's amazing companies out there that even help find one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that way, like you don't have somebody on your payroll 24/7. They could be like,
yeah. There's multiple ways to do it. Yeah. It's not just a hard and fast. You need a full time. Yeah. It really like that's the nuance of having your specific business circumstances and identifying what it is.
Yeah. So the reason why I kind of asked that question is because, again, going back to the idea of New Year's resolution, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, all right, you know what? Business is for me. Like I'm done with my 9 to 5. I want to start making some real money and get into business and have the most successful business.
That's a tough one because I don't like those people. I'm like, go rock and roll, fill your boots. I'm not like, that's not really the people this podcast is for, right? Like the people we're talking already know your business is already minimum 2.5 million. Mm-hmm. You already have a team of people of like probably minimum 8. Yeah. Like you are already you're a driven entrepreneur already, and you are really like you're squeezing the juice out of everything, but you want to squeeze more. So for the people that are just starting out, I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. I get it. So what I was saying with my comment there was, so you got people that are already running businesses and are pretty successful, and now they have their new ideas of how they can, make the most of it. And then you have all these ads all around talking about like, oh, take this type of, supplement or whatever.
Yes.
And it's going to get you locked in and you're going to do a great job with your business. But, the funny thing is like we are in this space and we see this all the time.
Yeah. It's right message, wrong time.
Exactly. Right. And the funny thing is, so I'm going to relate it to the gym because we don't talk about the gym enough. But imagine somebody gives you steroids and is like, hey, just take the steroids. You're going to get huge. But you don't have a plan or a program or anything that's going to help you or give you the proper tools to get there.
I would say it's here when you go, they convince you that you need these supplements, right? And it's probably, you need this vitamin B, you need vitamin C, all these things. You need your omega-3s and this multivitamin. Yeah. You need all of these supplements. You need to, have the whey protein. You need BCAA. You need your pre-workout and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so they convince you that, in order to get really in shape, you need to take all these supplements.
Yeah.
When what you haven't done is you haven't even done the fundamental work of, you haven't cleaned up your nutrition as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still eating garbage food. You're eating a ton of processed food. You're not eating clean. You're not even tracking or looking at what your nutrition is even made up. Are you heavily focused on the protein, et cetera, et cetera? And you're not even moving your body at all. And so you convince yourself like that's the key component you're missing is the supplements, but you haven't done any of the real underlying work.
Right.
So, and we'll relate that back to, okay, what does it mean for flow state? Well, there are great products out there like Alpha Brain, which we utilize. And for those that we work with, we encourage them to also use it when we're doing our program and flow state. But the trick with that is like we're working with them to help them actually get into flow properly, like so that we're taking care of the things so that those kind of things are now additive and they're doing what they're supposed to.
It's supporting your mental, because we've talked about this several times. When you're in flow state, you burn so many neurochemicals.
Yes.
Right. To be able to replenish them.
But like those things on their own are not going to help you get into flow because you're not doing the hard work of reducing cognitive load, which is why we created, after we did the 1 month day program and all of that and the mentoring that goes into that. And the program is actually teaching flow state and how to leverage that. Yeah. The precursor to that is if your cognitive load is too high, well, then that is one of the primary blockers to get into flow. So if we actually haven't addressed that part, you're never going to get into flow state.
Yeah.
So whether you take Alpha Brain or Newtonic or whatever it is, or any other, vitamin or anything, it's not like those things aren't going to be necessarily the most important thing. So again, right message, wrong time.
Yeah.
But it makes you feel good.
It does. And it's like, you got a car that needs 87% octane gas and you're just putting in 95 just because you think you're going to get more horsepower out of the vehicle. It just does not work. Like
you haven't done your basic, oil changes.
Yeah.
You haven't, upkept your spark plugs. You haven't done any other maintenance, but you think, I'm going to put in the highest top octane there is, and suddenly your car is going to run better.
Exactly.
Well, you haven't done anything else, actually. You run on ball tires, this other stuff. You haven't changed any of your...
what's going on? Like, I'm spending all this money and nothing's happening.
Exactly. I mean, that is essentially what it is.
Yeah.
And so for your business, as a business owner, the key thing is really understanding like what are the most important things to do and focusing on those because you've reverse engineered. And so we even talked about like one of that is like having a strategic plan because you're focusing on what outcome you're getting. And then that becomes a filter to get rid of all of the busyness. So you're not doing stupid work like spending 3 weeks redesigning a logo that doesn't matter. When down the road, you can hire someone to do that and like that's their job and they're gonna have way more creative ideas because that's what they specialize in versus you wasting 3 weeks of your life agonizing over something that you're not even good at doing.
Yeah.
Nor should you be doing.
Yeah.
When your function should be growing your business, creating more leverage, reducing and removing roadblocks for your team and helping them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny. I find it funny because, again, you get this motivation for the 3 weeks in January and then you start doing the same shit over and over again. And, you wonder like, oh, you know what? Why is my business still stuck at the same stage?
Yes.
It's because you didn't properly plan where you want to be at.
Yep.
And you as a leader not holding yourself accountable enough to keep onto the path where you want to head to. Yeah.
It's the addiction to being the busy work that makes you feel good. It hits your dopamine centers, right? Yeah. It's that feel good initial. It's I feel like I'm getting some type of reward from this, but it's not actually doing anything really valuable for your business, but it makes you feel good about it.
Yeah.
And that's we can't even stress that enough how important of a trap that you have to avoid that is. Like the work that makes you successful is like the least sexy work. It is not glamorous. It's not sexy at all. It's boring as shit. but it's the stuff like having conversations every day to open up and create opportunities to grow your business, like, and sell. No one's like, oh yeah, I'm really excited for this. Like, that's the habit you have to develop. But that's the most important stuff. And taking care of your body and your mind.
Yeah.
Reducing cognitive load. Like, those are all the things that, because it's easy just to get additive, and we just add more and more stuff to our plate and we don't remove things.
Yeah.
And then that's when the overwhelm
takes
everything,
over,
starts to really take root, and the burnout and the exhaustion set in, because that cognitive load gets so high, we don't ever remove any of that down and regain that horsepower.
Yeah. And that's why, like, it's so important to get the proper understanding of how all those things play a role in the bigger picture and how to be able to manage all of them. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about that we wanted to talk about that is because, like, go back, listen to our first podcast. We started talking about flow state and how important it is in the grand scheme of things as a
cognitive load.
Yeah.
Everything. That was like literally the first, like, navigating cognitive load.
And again, like, the information is out there, but if anybody's out there telling you that you can get into it just by taking this one supplement and it's going to get you there, it's not how it works. It really,
it's we like to believe it because we like to believe that there's that little magic
exactly
bullet, the easy button. Oh, I just need to do this thing.
Yeah.
When the easier or the more important thing is not that, and it's not sexy. It's not so glamorous.
Yep.
But we have to, like, that's developing the skill of grit.
Mm-hmm.
That's how these things fit in.
Yeah.
And so the one thing that you should probably take away from this episode is your 2025 should really start with sitting down and really identifying what your strategic plan is. Mm-hmm. And so it's Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. It's a really great book. I know they did an updated one. I think it's called Scaling Up. But the framework that Mastering the Rockefeller Habits has is really your one-page strategic plan and forcing you to think about your big, hairy, audacious goal. And then we talked about it a couple episodes ago, like 10X versus 2X, and navigating, how the 2X is really a lie if you really want to grow and scale, right? Yeah. And so forcing yourself to think about that and then reverse engineering in a really easy way, that becomes your filter and helps you reverse engineer all the way back to the day of what you should be doing. And that's what your 2025 should start out with. Now's the time to do that, because then you can eliminate a lot of the busy work that becomes the trap that we get caught in.
Right. Yeah.
And get your ass to work.
Yeah.
On the most important things.
On the areas that are going to actually help you grow.
Yeah. And with that, again, it's eliminate the non-valuable.
Yeah.
Eliminate the drains on your time and automate as many of those things and delegate and get rid of as many of those non-value things as you possibly can.
Yeah.
That are just going to contribute to that increasing cognitive load, and with that comes the overwhelm. And burnout.
Yeah, exactly. The buildup of the unnecessary.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get to a point where you have a massive pile that you're now, like, spending so much time clearing up the BS out of. Yeah. Anyway, we could talk about that.
No,
that's the problem.
That's literally what it is.
But I think I'm good, and this is a good point
to wrap it up. So as you start out 2025, it's really about getting clear on your purpose, your mission, vision. That you have to align to that first, and what that 10.0 version of yourself is that you need to do on a daily basis. Outlining that first. That's going to help you set your intention well beyond 2025 and really push you along the way. And it's also going to help keep your steering, and we're going to review that on a quarterly basis. Yeah. And with that is probably good to also then set up a cadence of taking a couple days. And this is probably the one where we need to improve as well, is taking a few days every quarter, just disconnecting completely, going away, spending time revisiting, reconnecting with yourself and what that stuff is, right? And I would say once you establish kind of what that 10.0 version and what those goals are, is reviewing them on a daily basis. Like you have to review those things daily. You don't have to talk about them with other people, but you need to be reviewing them every day to make sure that you are aligned. It's keeping you, right?
Yeah.
Helps feed the pattern recognition system. It helps feed that intrinsic, extrinsic motivation system. It helps remind you of what you're gunning for to help kind of keep that fuel there and ready all the time.
Yeah. And, you know, again, the people that we're talking to will know exactly what we're saying with this, because they're going to look back to their previous year and they're going to be like, you know what? I did great this year, but I could do better. What do I need to do to do better?
Yeah.
You know, to be the 10.0 version of myself. Right?
And so with that, become the 10.0 version of myself also is going to you're going to have to face what are your limiting beliefs that prevent you from doing that. So I think coming up soon, we'll actually do an episode on that. And how do you actually work through a scenario where you can start to address your limiting beliefs? So what are they? And how do I move past those? And we'll actually go through the exercise that we do that. I think that'll be extremely helpful and being able, because sometimes like that will be a roadblock that we're not even aware of, that we're actually self-sabotaging. We're throwing grenades into our own path without even really realizing it.
Right.
And so we need to understand why that's happening and how we're doing that. And once we have that awareness, then we can make important decisions and important strides to avoid doing that.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, what got us to this point isn't going to get us further. So we have to understand what that is and start breaking those that are holding us back. Yeah. So simultaneously, we're going to remove the anchors that are holding us back and create as much momentum and velocity moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what 2025 is all about.
Absolutely.
Good place.
I think it's a perfect place.
Awesome. So we want to thank everyone for joining us on this episode. We are BizMeds. We are your hosts. I'm Darius.
Saad.
And we want to thank you for joining us. Whether you are new to the channel, make sure you hit notifications if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, obviously, and that you catch us every episode. Almost every week we're dropping a live one on a Monday, unless there's some special circumstances. But and if you've been with us since the beginning, thank you, moms. My mom, Saad's mom, thank you so much. We love you. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And remember, you are just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We will see you in the next episode.